You're listening to Mile High Insiders with Nick Kendell and Luke Patterson. Head on over to milehighhuddle.com for all things Broncos. Now, it's time to find out what's going on behind the walls of UC Health Training Center.
Okay, he's got it. Gonna give it a second to go ahead. Saturday night for the boys and girls, and all the good boys and girls at least. We're gonna wait for John to give us a thumbs up. Oh, it's a thumbs up. All right, Luke. Well, go ahead. You are Luke, right? We don't have our banner today for whatever reason.
We're in, man. Yeah, we don't have our banners, but you know what? He's Nick Kendell, at Nick Kendell, MHH. I'm Luke Patterson, at Luke Patterson LP, and welcome to the Mile High Insiders. Saturday night, which means Broncos are playing tomorrow, Nick. Sunday night football, primetime game. It's going to be crazy. We've got a lot of things we've got to get into. But first things first, we were just talking before the show started, and you're looking very festive. It's the holiday season, Nick. And, you know, I love football, being a part of the holiday season. It's such a rich time to be around, you know, family and friends when you can. If it's distancing, that's fine too. But I love the season, man. I'm pumped.
Yeah, man, it's a great time of year. First holidays away for me, being away from the family. So that's a little bit weird, but I do have the wife, a couple of friends out here, and obviously my fur babies as well. So it's not too bad. And I got everybody in the chat today, my Mile High Huddle family, and also everybody in the stream here with us. So it's obviously going to be a weird Christmas for a lot of people this year, but I'm thankful for a lot of things, and I'm thankful to be here tonight with you, Luke.
Me too, man. I'm thankful for you too, dude. It's been fun, man. This MHI, it feels like we just kicked off yesterday, and here we are into our first Christmas. This is our first Christmas together, Nick. We're going to have to do some Christmas segments as the month goes on, but let's get to some matters of business real quick, Broncos country. I want to let y'all know tonight's live stream podcast is brought to you by sportsbetting.com. Broncos country, gambling is now legal in the state of Colorado, and here's what makes sportsbetting.com a no-brainer for all sports fans. Sharp odds, low juice. They have in-house bookmakers. They're not a third-party provider of odds, reduced juices, and best prices. There's hassle-free bonuses with a one-time rollover, which means the bonus money is yours after you bet it one time. Other sites now, this ranges between 5 and 30 different times, so it's a great deal with sportsbetting.com. There's 24/7 live customer support, always a real person in the U.S. Now, here's the kicker. At sportsbetting.com/Mile High Huddle, you can get a 100% risk-free week of sports betting up to $1,000. Not just one bet, but all of your bets. Play for a week, and if your losses exceed your winnings at the end of the week, sportsbetting.com/Mile High Huddle will cover 100% of the difference, up to $1,000 with a one-time rollover. So Broncos country, go on and head on over to sportsbetting.com. www.sportsbetting.com/Mile High Huddle. That's www.sportsbetting.com/Mile High Huddle, and capitalize on a risk-free week of sports betting up to $1,000. And Nick, in this crazy year of 2020, we were just trying to figure out why our banners aren't working for our names. So once again, he is Nick Kendell, at Nick Kendell, MHH. I'm Luke Patterson, at Luke Patterson LP. And if you're joining us today via YouTube, thank you so much. We're the Mile High Insiders. Go ahead and get at us at MHI_football pod. And we're part of Mile High Huddle, obviously, Nick. We've got exciting things always happening at Mile High Huddle. Get at Mile High Huddle on Twitter, at Mile High Huddle, milehighhuddle.com as well. And guys, speaking of swag, I was talking about Nick and his holiday sweater. I love it, but I love his hat even more. Go get your swag on, guys. Get on over to huddleuppod.com. Get your swag on. Get yourself a hat. Get yourself we've got masks. We've got shirts, coffee mugs, all kinds of great stuff. Even some MHH community designs from some of our own fans. And I think that's one of the coolest things ever, Nick. I absolutely love it. If you're joining us via Facebook, facebook.com/Mile High Huddle, go ahead and become a supporter. Nick, it's pretty impressive, right? Over 90K following on Facebook. That's absolutely amazing to me. You've been with MHH a lot longer than I have, and I'm so proud and blessed to be a part of this following. And go ahead and become an official supporter. Go ahead and click that little like button, like, subscribe, and share.
This is the Overtime Podcast Network.
Broncos country, that was rough, but we got something here to brighten your day. Coors Hard Seltzer is not your average seltzer. Rooted in Coors' long history of sustainability, is a brand inspired by a generation that wants to do good in the world with a mission to restore America's rivers. Never before has it been so easy to make a difference, to make an impact. Coors Hard Seltzer is launching the world's easiest volunteer program. Whatever you're doing, by simply cracking open a can of Coors Hard Seltzer, you're volunteering because our waterways are at risk. 80% of America's rivers are drying up. Through a partnership with Change the Course, Coors Hard Seltzer is helping to protect and restore America's rivers. Each 12-pack of Coors Hard Seltzer restores 500 gallons of fresh water to U.S. rivers and the communities that depend on them. The results? 1 billion, that's with a B, you guys, gallons of water restored to 16 river basins across the U.S., including the Colorado River. And that's just year one. You get 4 refreshing flavors, 1 cool cause. Enjoy naturally flavored black cherry, mango, lemon lime, and grapefruit. And the specs are in, gang. Coors Hard Seltzer is 4.5% ABV and only 90 calories.
Chad, after the NFL did the Broncos dirty against the Saints, I'm so happy I have my black cherry Coors Hard Seltzer to lean back on. It's my favorite flavor. It always lightens my mood. It's the crisp, refreshing taste that I look for, and I'm so happy to have it on this football Sunday.
Amen. So join the world's easiest volunteer program. By simply drinking Coors Hard Seltzer, you can volunteer to restore America's rivers. You buy Coors Hard Seltzer, you help restore 500 gallons of water into America's rivers. It is that simple. Visit CoorsSeltzer.com to find a Coors Hard Seltzer near you. That's CoorsSeltzer.com.
For every 12-pack sold through 8/31/2021, Coors will purchase services from Change the Course to restore 500 gallons of fresh river water. Details at CoorsSeltzer.com. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
That being said, Nick, man, it's Chiefs week. Here we go again, dude. Here we go again.
Yeah, here we go again. I guess I would say I am blessed. Last year I was fortunate enough to go to the Broncos-Chiefs game at Arrowhead with the family. My sister's going to med school down in Kansas City, and we went down there and got absolutely dumped on in the snow, but it was a rather rough game to watch overall. I mean, Tyreek Hill blasted them, and then after that they kind of played a slow roll game because they didn't think locking the Broncos could hurt them at all. I don't think the forecast calls for an epic snowstorm like last year, but it's probably going to be an epic aerial flight or bombs away by the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, last week we had Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill very close to setting a record, and Broncos I don't think the Broncos they haven't beaten the Chiefs since week 2, 2015, and that's also the last time they won at Arrowhead. And many of the games since then have been very unfortunate. I'm just hoping for a competitive game. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Sunday night, a lot of people are going to be upset. Oh, the Broncos are going to win. I'm not here to blow smoke up your rear end. You can go other places for that. This is going to be a tough game. And the Broncos, gosh, if they can hang with this game at all, I will be happy. But as far as getting a win, oh man, Christmas will come early if that happens.
I love it, Nick. I love it because even when we disagree, when we do agree, you're always honest, and I'm always honest. And that's the best part of this show. And our followers are
Oh, there he goes. He's muted for a second, but he's talking about how good our followers are here not to just have their living in an echo chamber, but Luke's still offline, not just living in an echo chamber, but here to have your views challenged and whatnot while we settle some technical difficulties. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, the Chiefs playing for a Super Bowl this year. They are looking to go back to back, and this is a game that they do need. Obviously, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he's back.
1, 2, 3.
You're back. You're good. Hopefully you can hear me. The Pittsburgh Steelers are the leads in the AFC right now, but Kansas City right on the heels, and the Chiefs will have a really easy time. Oh, there he goes. I don't know what happened. I guess it's just me now for a second, folks. You can see my really nasty facial hair and the hat coming in. So he'll be back. But yeah, this is a big game for the Chiefs and also for the Broncos. Our main topic today was going to be, is this a make or break game for Drew Lock? Now, I will go first here because obviously Luke isn't here to defend himself. So if anybody has any takes you want to fly off right now, Luke's got worse facial hair than I do. Ooh, it's the Nick show. I'm in. Nick at night, baby. We're in. But no, he's coming back. But yeah, definitely this is a big game for Drew Lock. He needs to show much better than he has against the Chiefs so far in his career. Welcome back, Luke. Good to see you.
You got me? Are we hot?
We're
hot?
Good. We're
hot
hot
on the
yep,
mic. Hot on the mic. I was worried that maybe I cursed or something was picked up and we were kicked out already, but
you're good. Well, people were interested in the one-man show. You guys missed it. I used to have to do some one-man shows back in the day, and you can ask my wife, you can ask my friends. They're probably very happy that I found a live stream outlet because I could talk football all day long, and I would, even if they're not listening. So that's fine, but we're back now. It's more fun when we have a little back and forth, but I was just kind of starting on the track here for our main conversation. Is this a make or break game for Drew Lock? His two games against Kansas City so far have been probably, if not close to, the worst two games he's had in his professional career. That game at Arrowhead last year was abysmal. I was there. There are questions about Drew Lock's ability to play in weather, especially cold. He has small hands. The wind was not really effective in that game, but it snowed a heck of a lot, and it really did impact Drew Lock. And then the game against Kansas City, even though the Broncos defense had probably one of the best games any team's had against Patrick Mahomes, Broncos offense was just putrid. Drew Lock threw that pick six, and after that, it was just kind of over. So I'll kick it off to you because I know that we're going to kind of differ from here, and also hello to everybody in the chat. We appreciate you. Drew Lock, is this a make or break game for his ability to be a Denver Bronco? I know a lot of people right now got eyes on that BYU Coastal Carolina game. They have a quarterback there named Zach Wilson. I mean, Broncos are out of Trevor Lawrence range. That's done. Right. As soon as they lost to the Jets, it was over. But Justin Fields had a great game today. We also have Zach Wilson as an interesting quarterback going off right now, making some NFL throws. I don't care who he's going against. Although Coastal Carolina is undefeated. They're probably one of the best small schools. But this is a big game for Drew Lock. He doesn't need to win. He doesn't need to win. Also, QB wins are stupid. But he has to play so much better than he has against the Chiefs so far.
Yeah, we got to see something, Nick. I mean, I texted you earlier, and I was trying to sum up what I wanted to say, and we never script things, and I love this show. And the other shows, we don't script things either. We hash this out with you guys. How we feel is real. It's natural. Sometimes it's raw, and it's emotional. That's just the way it is. Now, I've liked Drew Lock since college. I've been on record for that, but I feel like sometimes I've gotten a little bit burned. Maybe I was a little overzealous. Maybe he is young. On the other hand, I see the regression. I see these other things that are happening with Drew Lock, and we're not moving quite forward. Now, I do think that coaching, his teammates, the Broncos lead the league in drops. So all those things definitely play a factor. So it's not Drew Lock's fault that the Broncos are where they are, per se. I'm not saying that, but this game, man, for me, this is the most significant game left on the schedule. Not because I'm going in there and I'm expecting Drew Lock to win the game and win me over as a Drew Lock fan. No, I want it to be competitive. That's something you said earlier in the show. This has got to be a competitive game for Drew Lock. This is your hometown team. You've never thrown a touchdown against them. You spoke about his horrible, he's got the rushing touchdown, whoop-de-doo. But come on, Drew, you're better than that, man. You're better than that. I know you've got the tools. We see you have the tools, and that's the most frustrating part about it. So for me, I'm not worried about Carolina and the rest of see the Raiders, the Chargers, all that stuff, man. It's all about the Chiefs and how you stack up to the Chiefs. We know the Broncos aren't up to snuff with the Chiefs right now, but the Chiefs present the biggest obstacle for me to give you a realistic opportunity on whether or not you should go into Drew Lock into another offseason with he's our guy.
Yeah, I mean, this is a measuring stick game. We've said that multiple times. So this Kansas City defense isn't incredible. Granted, they don't have to be incredible because of how great that Chiefs offense is, but they're also hurting too. Brashad Breeland was a full participant on Friday, but he's been dealing with an illness. Dorian O'Daniel's out. That's some good depth for them also on special teams. Tano Passanio, who's the guy that actually got put into a blender on that Drew Lock rushing touchdown, but he's a full participant, but he's been dealing with a hip injury. Derek Notty's dealing with an ankle injury. Anthony Hitchens is dealing with a shoulder injury. So they're banged up. They're going to play, but they're banged up. And the Broncos also have a fair amount of injuries too. I guess if we're talking injuries, I might as well go through it. DeMar Dotson has been dealing with a hand injury. He's a full participant. He'll go. But worth noted, Philip Lindsay is questionable. It does sound like he's going to go, but he has a knee injury. Obviously, we knew that. Trey Marshall is out. So that opens the door for Will Parks, everybody's Philly favorite son. Malik Reed is questionable with a shin injury. Jerry Jeudy's questionable with an ankle injury. And then also Duke Dawson and Graham Glasgow and Brandon Mcmanus also listed on the injury report for the Broncos. So will be interesting to see. But most of these teams, relatively considering who's available, are relatively healthy. Obviously, the Broncos have been decimated, but it's not like we have a bunch of people on that injury list that aren't already on IR.
Yeah, and just to clarify, it looked like Brandon Mcmanus was out for personal reasons that day of practice, so I expect him to play. I hope he plays. I said out a tweet there, he's the only hope at scoring right now, right? Terrible joke. But
also, I do want to bring. You said earlier the Broncos lead the league in drop passes.
Is that?
I'm at NFL.com.
Okay.
No, they're actually right in the middle of the pack. 15th right now with 13. Right. The Dallas Cowboys have 26 drop passes. So a little different there. Everybody said they had the best passing weapons in the league. They might be high, but Broncos do not have lead the league in drops. We were there pretty early. KJ Hamler was dropping the ball a bit.
I'm dated in my stat there. I'm dated. So, I appreciate you got to check me, Nick. You got to check me and keep me honest.
It's like a Tony Reale at the end of Around the Horn, right? What do we miss today? Or was it
Exactly, dude. You got to keep me honest, man. So as we get through it real quick, Muhammad's coming in here, man, with the super chat. I want to get to Broncos country because we're gonna start rapping and we're gonna start arguing and having a good time. But let's get out to Muhammad real quick. Luke, the Smooth Killer, good to see you both. # beat the Chiefs. Muhammad, dude, you've been repping some hardcore huddle up swag, dude. Nick, you see Muhammad, man. I see you guys chatting and everything, man. And it's awesome to see you guys supporting this gear. And I know it means so much to everybody at Mile High Huddle, dude. And it's awesome to have you a part of Broncos country and a part of Mile High Huddle. Thank you so much for your donation. It allows us to do what we love to do as professional analysts. So, with some more news, Josh Watson, obviously activated from the practice squad. Troy Fumagalli, tight end, activated. And Elijah Holder, activated. Will Parks, he shouldn't be in the game. I'm pumped. I wrote about the article. I was hoping they'd get him. I was shocked that they did.
Andrew Beck also activated.
Andrew Beck. Okay, so Beck's activated. So, yeah, we can't see Phil Will just yet, but don't worry, y'all. He's coming. It's going to be worth the wait, too. But I was asking John about this, and I want to ask you before we get into the Drew Lock. Shelby Harris, I thought that John Beast put this in the best possible term. He's like, I think Shelby Harris is going to be on a pitch count. Is that kind of what you're feeling with Shelby Harris and how the defensive line and Bill Kolar and Vic Fangio intend to use Big 96?
That's what it sounds like. Unfortunately, we know with as Carl's daughter says, that sick bug going around right now, it impacts a lot of people differently.
Sure.
So, I mean, I guess I'll share some personal information. I found out my grandma has it, but she's actually doing better and better. She's a diabetic as well. So it was pretty scary there for a bit.
Thoughts and prayers, brother.
Yeah. She's trending in the right direction though. So,
good.
Appreciate that. But with like Shelby Harris, that is one that it sounds like it impacted him a little bit more. So what's his conditioning like? How's he going to be able to be out there? Ed Donatel going to miss his 6th game in a row with it. So you never know. That's something that makes this so crazy. I don't want to go down. I am an epidemiologist, an infectious disease epidemiologist by trade. I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole. I know everybody's an epidemiologist these days, it seems. But that is something that will be interesting to see what happens. Yeah. And I think that's probably the best way to go. It will be a pitch count for Shelby Harris, which is unfortunate for him because he was playing the best ball of his career. And this is a year where he was looking like he was going to cash out. I know the salary cap's going to go down next year, et cetera, but he was looking like he was going to cash out, and now this happened. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think you have to have him out there, especially on those money downs. I mean, the Broncos don't have anybody that's winning inside like he does. I love Draymond Jones. I love the upside with him. But that is Shelby Harris has been the best interior defensive lineman they had, even better than Jarrell Casey when he played for 4 games or whatever it was. So having him back would be big.
And Vic Fangio said the other day in his press conference on yesterday, Nick, he said, I haven't been able to watch Shelby's whole career, but just him and Shelby talking to each other, he said, Shelby's on pace. I think he was having his best career yet. And I'm like, wow, from a coach that's, sour on everybody, that's big praise, from Fangio to Shelby Harris, who, we were talking a couple weeks ago about Shelby Harris lunging at coach. So they're kind of coming full circle. So that's something to take a look at as well. But before we get into Drew Lock and what the implications mean with this game and John Elway, Vic Fangio, Joe Ellis, man, what a crazy week for the Broncos. Let's get to a couple more supers before we get down that rabbit hole. I've got Mr. Boggins coming in here, man. Mr. Boggins always showing love to MHI and Mile High Huddle. What's up, boys? What's up, Mr. Boggins? Do you think Lock's time off will help him again? That's a great question. So, obviously, Mr. Boggins referring to Drew Lock not being able to play because of that weird little bug that I love that. Carl's daughter has that weird little bug. We're going to call that # the weird little bug. That weird little bug that's going on and all that funky mess that was going on with the quarterbacks, man. Is this time going to help Drew? Is he going to bounce back? Does he have something to prove? I like that question a lot. That's a sharp question, Mr. Boggs. What do you think, Nick?
I think that it's unfortunate that we lost a game to watch Drew Lock. He needs every single game. The Broncos need every single game of Lock that they can get to evaluate him, to understand what they're going to do in the offseason with the quarterback position. Gathering more data is always a good thing, increasing the sample size. That being said, Drew Lock has been dealing with an injury, obviously coming off that shoulder. He should be as healthy as he's been. He took a licking a few of those games as well. Got beat up pretty good. Some of that due to his own fault, but that's kind of how it is. Some of it's the scheme as well. But also he's as healthy as been. He also missed the Saints, who right now, arguably, I think that's probably the worst defense for Drew Lock because of how good they are against the run. I mean, we're talking about a historic run D, and the Broncos coming off a game, the Miami game that is, where they ran the ball really effectively. It might be a blessing in disguise for Lock that he skipped that game, so to speak, because I don't think that would have turned out well with the Broncos really needing to rely on the run game. I mean, when you see it, when it's 3rd and 10 plus, that Miami game did a few times, but overall, when it's been 3rd and long, the offense has imploded, and a lot of that's the passing game struggles. So now that they're playing again, these are some great offenses coming up. Obviously, the Raiders offense has been great. The Bills defense hasn't actually been that great, but they've been a decent offense. Stephon Diggs has helped them a lot. The Chiefs, obviously, one of the best offenses in the NFL. And Raiders tossing up, Chargers throwing bombs and whatnot. So good offenses coming up, not good defenses. So I think overall, I would say it helps Lock, especially from the statistical side. I mean, you might not get the wins and losses, but it should help him at least. I don't expect a 4-1 down the stretch like last year, but still.
I like that. I like that, Nick. That's an interesting theory because when you look at it, you remove the emotion from it, right? Where we're all frustrated at what happened. They're Broncos frustrated. We're frustrated. Lock did have time to heal a little bit, right? He didn't get banged up because, man, Quan Alexander and that Saints defense, you're right, Nick. Good Lord, they're scary. I mean, I'd like to see maybe Saints Steelers for a game. That might be pretty nasty. But,
it's bare knuckle brawl, baby.
Yeah, that's an interesting theory, man. He's had time. He's had time in the film room, obviously, for whatever that was worth. He should be feeling good. His body should be feeling good. He has something to prove against his hometown. I was looking it up before the show. Nick, they're going to have 16,000 fans there. So I know it's kind of bizarre in these circumstances, but a little bit of noise, right? In Arrowhead, I'm expecting. And I don't know how many of those fans are Drew Lock fans, if he got any of his family in there, how those whole things kind of tend to work themselves out. But let's dive into it, man. Drew Lock, you asked me the question, man. Make or break game for Drew Lock. I'm not saying Drew Lock needs to come out here and win this game, but Nick, it would be so refreshing to not see a turnover from this quarterback.
Oh, God.
I mean, it would be so refreshing. And you know what? Okay, let's say that's asking a lot, right? Because he's trending in the direction of averaging a pick a game, right? So let's say that. Yeah, and BNS coming up in here real quick, talking about turnovers. Ball control is everything. Not giving those guys a short field, also by stupid turnovers. No stupid penalties on 3rd downs as well. BNS, that's exactly it, man. I mean, here's the thing, Nick, and I'm just going to come out and say it. I've gotten really lax and almost ignorant when it comes to game planning for the opponent for the Denver Broncos, because as I'm charting plays for the Denver Broncos, there's so much that's wrong with the Broncos. I can't get to the other team yet, Nick, and I'm trying my best, and it's just – man, where do you go from here if you've got a quarterback that's turning the ball over? I understand that he's not taking all the sacks, but he's definitely taking all the licks and all the hits, and the interceptions are coming from it. He's a better quarterback than that, Nick. I hope he can prove it. I want him to. We all want him to. I see it in the comments right now. I see you guys all saying it all day. I want Drew to be the guy. I want Drew to be the guy. I want Drew to be the guy too. And for me, tomorrow is a big test. Nick, you just talked about your distinguished educational background, man. And I have so much respect for that because my mom is in the healthcare professional field. She's a nurse practitioner as well. I've got tons of friends in the healthcare field. And, all y'all out there, man, working, grinding, blue collar jobs, white collar jobs. I don't care, man. Education is smart. We learn something every day. Well, Nick, with education, quizzes and tests come, and then exams come. This is an exam for Drew Lock tomorrow. This is going to tell me a lot about as a benchmark. You said it, man. So I got to know, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. That feels okay to me, right? That would be progress, a 2-to-1 interception ratio versus where we're at right now and leading the league in 56% completion rateage. Come on, Nick. I mean, am I anxious? Am I hoping for things that aren't going to be there? Or am I realistic? Help temper my expectations because I'm frustrated, I'm confused, and I don't know where to go from here, man.
This is the Overtime Podcast Network.
Well, I think this is a good comment here from David Wilkinson. First, our offense is young. We'll need time to grow next year. Will be much better. It comes down to the quarterback again. I mean, Drew Lock, he's stepping back right now. And also he looked better when the Broncos went with a very dumbed down playbook. They went back to basics, the half field, high-low reads, and relied on the run game. And I understand everybody saying you need to make the offense to the quarterback, but also it was a very basic offense against the Dolphins. He's going to have to do more than that to stick in the league. I mean, he just is. You can't run that type of offense constantly. You just can't, unless you have Josh Allen tools where he can be Cam Newton level runner. I mean, you can't do that. So it works for a bit, but it's not a long-term thing. Also, I do want to kind of push back again. Everyone drank. Nick wants to talk nuance, blah, blah, blah. But if you're talking 2 touchdowns and 1 interception, how did we get there? Are we talking, it's the middle of the third quarter and the Broncos are down 30 points and Drew Lock is at 40% completion percentage with an interception, and then the Chiefs go into a shell and he gets 2 touchdowns at the end? He threw 2 to 1. I don't care. How you got there is a lie. You have to take the whole picture, how you get to that point. So
you mean you're not cool with garbage? You mean you're not cool with garbage time stats? You don't like garbage time stats, Nick?
They're great for fantasy football when they're helping me. But other than that, people will look at the overall stats from this game like, oh, Drew Lock didn't play that bad. But without actually watching the game, without breaking down the film, without understanding the context to those stats, they just don't mean very much. So I don't know. It's annoying.
I gotta get to a friend here I've been chatting with. A lot of interesting football knowledge from Chloe.
Say that last name for me. Say it
for me. It's gonna be tough. I'm not gonna even try to butcher. That's why I'm just gonna say a dear friend.
She will be drafted by the Broncos next year.
Oh man, I just got through Okuwebunam, man, and Michael Ojemudia. So come on, man, don't do this to me. But Chloe's coming in and she's saying, Nick, the Broncos can't improve without different coaching. And this is something I knew we were going to get to, and I feel like I've been triggered because all week, man, what have we heard? There's almost like Broncos country. It's you got to fire everybody, or you got to fire the coach, you got to fire the quarterback, you got to fire Elway, you got to fire Ellis, you got the daughters fighting, things are a mess. Now, she didn't say replacing coaching. She said different coaching. And that's something that I noticed, those small details, man. And that's something you're talking about. Playing to your quarterback's strengths, but at a certain time, that quarterback has to develop new strengths at the same time, right? Because when your vanilla offense is just high-low read, that's going to get figured out real quick, man. And I would make the case Lamar Jackson is struggling a little bit this year for some of these tendencies that defensive coordinators are starting to pick up on. Now,
can't throw outside the hash marks. Pack the box, baby. If he beats you with the Griggs, whatever, but pack the box. Don't let it go over the middle. Yep.
Exactly. So when defensive coordinators start honing on to these tendencies, and we talk about it every week, and I'm not going to get you fired up about running backs, man, so I'm not even going to do it yet. But the running back situation, good news, Philip Lindsay will be playing. It looks like he's out there high-stepping, looking, great, and hopefully he's not taking direct snaps anymore. But you'll have Philip Lindsay, Melvin Gordon. I doubt you see too much of Royce Freeman unless that ankle, I think it was an ankle with Philip Lindsay, starts to bug him. But different coaching. Kansas City Chiefs, Spagnuolo. Man, what kind of coaching? What do you think the game plan is, Nick, for the Broncos offense? Now, Broncos defense, we could spend a whole show trying to figure that one out, and we may not even get there because, Cheetah, you said it yourself, Tyreek Hill, man, I don't know what you do, and that's not even talking about Travis Kelce yet, or, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, you got some guy named Bell who just signed a contract, man, the Chiefs are loaded. But if you are Pat Shurmur, how are you attacking the Kansas City Chiefs defense, specifically with your quarterback, Drew Lock?
One thing that I know it's Eric and Lance have touched on it a heck of a lot, but I feel like the Broncos, they need to be much more involved with the pre-snap motion of the offense, utilizing the speed that they have at wide receiver. They have weapons at wide receiver. I mean, maybe even, I'm not saying use a tight end around, but some pre-snap motion with the tight end position just to get guys moving. And when you do that, it's kind of a trickle down from the Gibbs wide zone stretch with Gary Kubiak, where if you get defenders moving laterally, there are going to be holes that you can gash. And you can do that with pre-snap motion as well. And you're just not really seeing that so much with Shurmur right now. And I just got done watching the Iowa Hawkeyes today.
How'd that game finish, Nick? I didn't get to see it.
35-21. Iowa's also dealing with a quarterback who's struggling completing passes plus 15 yards. So that really bogs things down. But Iowa's got a great offensive line. good running back right now. They also have a really good speed wide receiver and Ihmir Smith-Marsette. And the Iowa offensive staff right now is doing really good things of utilizing him in pre-snap motion. There was an end around where he ran for 50 yards. There was an end around where he ran for a touchdown. And there was a pre-snap movement where because of his movement, he already had momentum going and a safety tried to catch him and he had space to the pylon. So just using you have KJ Hamler, right? Like, why aren't you using him in pre-snap motion, getting that dude the ball? He might be your most electric player. You don't have to just be throwing it down the field to him. Getting him running laterally, making sure that the defense, I mean, we already talked about 2 Chiefs linebackers are dinged up. Use that guy, make them think, give Locke some easy completions, maybe even some RPO kind of looks off of that stuff, and just get the ball rolling. I mean, he's a rhythm thrower right now. It's kind of like a rhythm shooter in basketball. Give him some easy stuff with the athletes that you have because he's struggling throwing the ball down the field, and then we go from there. But I just don't see it happening right now.
And I think he's willing to improve from that because you said, give him those shots, those easy shots if you're a basketball shooter. I know he's a gunslinger, right? It's kind of like being a 3-point shooter. Sometimes you miss, sometimes you don't. I think Drew's starting to change his mentality there, Nick. I'm seeing some throws there that are impressing me. You know, for every 5 bogus bonehead plays, there's 1 or 2 in there that I'm like, I like it. I like that. I want to see more, kid. Yeah. Come on. I want to see more. And I know he's got it in him. And it's almost like, right, you've got fur babies, right? But I've got a daughter and I'm that frustrated dad right now because I can see what you can do. And I just can't help you because you're not helping yourself. Pat Shurmur's not always helping you either. But let's dumb down that offense. Can we get some screens, man? Can we get some screens involved? Don't get me started.
Pre-snap motion. Play action. I mean, Andy Reid, Sean McVay, all these kind of West Coast Andy Reid disciples have been using them a lot. And the Broncos, it's just can be stagnant. It just can be stagnant. So it bothers me.
And it's stale. And when you have the pre-snap motion, Nick, that's something that allows quarterbacks to look and read their defense. It makes it a little easier when Drew's making his pre-snap reads. The very first thing Drew needs to be looking at is his safeties. Now, Lloyd Cushenberry and Drew Lock both have their hands full as young guys and signal callers, right? So, Lloyd Cushenberry, I need you to step it up, man. I don't care that you're a rookie. I think you're taking your licks and you're doing well, but you got to keep improving, young fella.
This is the Overtime Podcast Network.
Before we get there, Mr. Boggins coming up in here with a $4.99 super. What's up, Mr. Boggins? Appreciate you so much, brother. I believe Drew Lock's issues are all mental. He needs more than 1 year in a system for once. That way he can focus on things like perfecting his mechanics. Mechanics, Nick, mechanics and fit. That is what we're trying to figure out with Drew Lock right now. How do you feel? I mean, do you think he would benefit under another year, specifically with Pat Shurmur's offense? Do you think Pat Shurmur can help assist his bad mechanics? And when I'm talking about bad mechanics, I'm talking about that sloppy footwork, I'm talking about throwing off the back foot, I'm talking about sidearm slinging it every once in a while. You know, Nick, it's the same throws that we've been talking about since his pro day, since before his pro day. How do you feel about his mechanics? And go ahead and talk to Mr. Boggins' point a little bit, man. What do we do? Is he expected to improve in another year of Pat Shurmur's offense?
Well, it's kind of weird because we talked about Drew Lock being a shotgun spread quarterback in his best year in college, but really you're watching him play. This is a quarterback who might be best in that San Francisco style offense. Under center more often, using a little bit of that athleticism to get to the edge, stress that back edge defender, and also getting those half field reads. I mean, that's when Colin Kaepernick was a god. That's kind of the defense that they were using there in San Francisco. And I think we saw that last year at Scangarello. That actually might be a better fit for Drew Lock just because I don't know if he has that natural accuracy and the ability to make those quick decisions while reading the full field, especially pre-snap. He just hasn't shown that at all this season, really. So an offense that's much more predicated on the ground game, on creating confusion with different run fits, different run looks, might be better for Drew Lock overall. And that's the Scangarello offense. That's the Kyle Shanahan offense. That's the Mike Shanahan offense. But I also think at the same time, switching things up again is not the best way to go. You need to have some stability there. So I don't know. You're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, and you're kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't. I think probably the best choice here. I know a lot of people are kind of irritated with Vic Fangio and want a complete blow up, but until the ownership situation's resolved, I think you're just kind of paddling with one oar. You ever been in a canoe with just one paddle? You just or just a rowboat with one paddle? You're just going in circles, right?
You ain't going nowhere.
Yeah. Right. So until that ownership situation's cleared up, I just don't know even what to do. Probably stay in the course.
Yeah.
Probably what they should do. I think Locke should be back for another year. Also, but I don't think they can do I'm all in on Locke. I'm bringing in a Jeff Driscoll. Like, you have to bring in somebody to breathe down his neck, because you can't go into next year with Locke struggling like this with nowhere to turn.
And I want to get back to that, Nick. Hang on to that thought, because I'm going to give us a quick tease here on MHI tonight. There is a quarterback that is in the NFC right now that's being linked with the Broncos very, very all the time. I hear it in radio. I hear it in print. Let's get to that before the end of the show, because I'm curious what your thoughts are. I'm curious what MHH community's thoughts are. And Gase coming up in here with a real quick. I love it. I always love the Adam Gase crazy eyes. Locke has had multiple offensive coordinators and coaches from college until now. It's not coaching. It's who he is. Hashtag back foot throws. Hashtag one read quarterback. Now, Base Gase, I see what you're saying, man. And speaking of Adam Gase, thank you so much for your support and your donation. It means tons. Happy holidays to you and your family.
Thank you.
Now, Adam Gase, man, he said something today, and or not today, but a couple days ago, I tweeted out there saying, man, I've done a poor job in developing Darnold. Wish he would have said that a little while ago when he had a chance to still do it. Hey, I'm not doing very good, but too little too late. But I liked the fact that he's the first step, Nick, right, is admitting you have a problem. Well, Drew Lock goes up there and he says all the right things, man.
That's why people love him, man. I mean, he's got all the moxie and the personality.
Yeah, he says all the right things. But, Nick, I said it in my game prediction, and I'm frustrated and I'm embarrassed. I didn't even talk football in my game prediction this week on milehighhuddle.com. I didn't even talk football. All I said was, we'll get to scores later. If it even matters to you, Broncos country, it's going to be a blowout. It's going to be a blowout. All right. These are two different teams, man. In my opinion, it's going to be a blowout. Now, I'm not saying don't watch the game. I'm not saying the Broncos are garbage. I'm saying that they're a losing football team right now that has got to figure it out. Now, what the implications from this game are going to be, I'm not sure, because you said it, Nick, it's all about context. It's all about, are you going to get embarrassed tomorrow night? Are you going to be competitive, or is it just going to be a boring, stale game? Could it be a field goal contest? I doubt it. Context matters a lot. But speaking of turnover, now, I know, we're called the Mile High Insiders for a reason. We talk to people off air who are very connected in that building. You've been to the scouting combines. I hit the All-Star road trip. We're around football, and some things we can report on, other things we can't. And some things we just like to throw out there because there might be some notion to it. Now, Vic Fangio, I'm hearing, you're hearing, he is safe right now, right? But why wouldn't he be safe? Which employer is going to come out there? And the New York Jets haven't even done it, saying we're going to get rid of Adam Gase yet. So don't buy into that too much. Vic Fangio and Joe Ellis, they're very close. They have a solid relationship. John Elway and all those cats have a very solid relationship. But embarrassing lows, Nick, man, change happens when dollars are lost, when new all-time lows happen. If that batted pass by AJ Bouye wasn't intercepted by Asang Bassi, and Brandon McManus didn't kick that 58-yard field goal against the New Orleans Saints, the Denver Broncos could have very well been shut out at home for the first time in NFL history for a franchise that is as historic and important as Denver. That disgusts me. Now,
they're the only team that doesn't have that also, just for the record. They're the only team in the entirety of the NFL that does not have a home shutout.
And so, I'm tired of seeing new lows, Nick. I'm tired of seeing, I know everybody else is too, and I don't think it's all on Vic. I don't think it's all on Pat. But, man, I'm just, the business of football just like I do. Changes get made, man. People get pissed off, right? And fights happen. And man, I don't know, Nick. I don't know. I think if things get embarrassing, I mean, everyone's talking about Tom McMahon and all that other stuff, but man, the head coach and the quarterback, they're tied at the hip. I think Vic Fangio and Drew Lock support each other, and they will either sink or swim. How you feeling? What are you hearing? Give me your general insight on the coach, what you're hearing about his future, and whether or not these implications could have immediate impact on the organization for Denver for the rest of the 2020 season.
Well, the Broncos, it's no secret. The ownership situation makes it an issue for them to move on from Vic Fangio. This is not a cash-rich team, despite coming off paying Garrett Bowles. And unlike NFL players where they have guaranteed money, you can cut them and save some cap. Coaches' salaries are 100% guaranteed, unless something horrible happens where the contract is voided. So if you are moving on from Vic Fangio, he's still going to get paid for all of 2021, all of his contract there. And then you're going to see what's going on. You have to pay that other quarterback on top of that. So I think that is a big boon for Vic Fangio coming back, unless this team completely implodes down the stretch. And that doesn't even mean 0-5 down the stretch. That I'm talking about, like, you get blown out by the Raiders and the Chargers as well. And like, don't show up at Carolina, like we're talking about putrid games. And then you might see that movement where you have really no choice. But I do want to give, maybe people will say, oh, Vic Fangio should go back to being a defensive coordinator. It's what he's great at. And maybe there is some merit to that too. But like, considering the injuries the Broncos have had this year on the defense, I mean, now they're minus arguably their best player this season, Bryce Callahan, going against the Chiefs now.
Man, how bad do you feel for Bryce, dude? My heart breaks for Bryce because I talked all that junk about Bryce never completing an NFL season. Dude, he was balling out, Nick. I called him the best defensive player 2 weeks ago on our show. I feel for Bryce, man. I feel for him.
Yep. He'll be back next year. Thank God. The Broncos have a good cornerback there. And AJ Boye has been playing better and better. So we'll see what happens with the cornerback group. I am excited to see Michael Ojemudia, although I think this might be somewhat of a rough game for him. Yeah, this might be somewhat of a rough game for him, given the weapons the Chiefs have. They're so twitchy. They're so explosive. And Michael Ojemudia is a little bit stiffer, more of that pure boundary 3-by-1 kind of guy. But anyways, man, I just want to give Vic Fangio some props too. I know there's some talk about him being maybe not the guy, but considering how the Broncos have built this team over the past few seasons, they've sunken in so many resources on the offensive side of the ball. So many how many top 2 picks at the top 2 rounds have they used on the offensive side of the ball the last 3 years? It's probably just Bradley Chubb. Everything else has been on the offense. You're asking Vic Fangio to do with day 3 guys and UDFAs across the defense. And you're missing, outside of Bradley Chubb, who else is there that's a real day 1, blue chip caliber guy? They just haven't been using resources on that. And still the Broncos are doing a great job of limiting deep passes. They're doing a great job. That Kansas City game earlier this year, Broncos defense was incredible.
They were in it.
Mahomes looked, he still looked like a franchise quarterback because he still made some plays, but like as average as he's ever looked. And that's with playing with hand tied behind your back. I know they traded for Jarrell Casey, 7th round pick for a reason, folks. I know they traded for AJ Boye, late 4th round pick for a reason, folks. But still, like, you're playing with a street guy in Alexander Johnson at linebacker. You're playing with way down the line. You're without Von Miller. You're 4th round pick Josie Jewell. So they're still getting results. I just think he's doing. I agree with continuity there. I am curious to see what happens with quarterback. I think it's a little bit different of a conversation given what we've seen on tape with Locke. You don't have to be out on Locke, but you can't be 100% in on Locke at this point either.
How about this weird Ooh, I like that. Yeah.
Oh, hopefully that wasn't me that just froze out. John, pop up real quick to give me a thumbs up. Oh, there he is.
Are we good? You in?
You were freezing out a little bit there. It's okay. You're back.
Good. We're up. Man, 2020 is what it is. So I'm gonna let Kenneth Booker take the reins on this. So Kenneth Booker with the 199 super. Thanks, Kenneth. Kenneth, you're a super chat superstar. I always appreciate you. Nick does as well. I know Bawana does, Chad. Everybody at MHH, man. Thank you so much. Happy holidays to you and your family. What did Joe Ellis do to get that power? Never heard of him. So all right. I was I took one for the team this week, man. I'm an analyst. I'm not a journalist. I took one for the team this week, Nick, and wrote the article about Beth Bolin-Wallace and her sister coming out and making their statements. And I hesitate with that stuff because I'm a little bit of emotionally involved, man. I hate to see this, man. Mr. B is one of my ultimate heroes, man. He's a guy. He's not a mentor because I didn't know the guy, but he's a guy I look up to, man. I use his I want to be number one at everything at the end of every one of my emails, man. I've got so much respect and admiration for Mr. B. So going through those articles, man, and trying to make sense of, what's going on. This is what I understand about Joe Ellis. Joe Ellis was Pat Bolin's right-hand man for many, many years. Correct me if I'm wrong, Nick. Joe Ellis also had an outstanding legal career. I believe he's a lawyer by trade at one point. Pat Bolin effectively trusted Joe Ellis. Joe Ellis was his right-hand man for years and years and years. There was a complex relationship with Mike Shanahan, who was also one of Pat Bolin's besties. But when Joe Ellis became Pat Bolin's right-hand man, later he developed a trust. And in that trust, Rich Levka, his wife is also involved, and then Joe Ellis are those 3-party trusts. Pat Bolin, it's legal doctrine. It's going to court. The kids are contesting it. Long story short, Joe Ellis was Pat Bowlen's one of his best friends, and he trusted him to run this team. Another one of the reasons that he trusted John Elway to run the team. John Elway and Joe Ellis have known each other for years in this organization. Just because Joe Ellis may not necessarily be a public figurehead as much as he should be with other CEOs and owners does not mean he's insignificant in any way. Joe Ellis is a huge community advocate here in the city of Denver. I've gotten to meet Joe Ellis. There's a whole bunch of murky waters, but to answer your question, Kenneth Booker, what did Ellis do to get power? Pat Bowlen gave him that power. I would imagine he formed a friendship and a trust, and I guess that's probably the best way I could answer that, Nick, and I hope I did a decent job because it's a complex situation, man, and as an analyst, I try to stay away from the journalistic side of some of this stuff.
Yeah, I am so tired of the petulant children of the Bowlen family bickering and fighting and dragging everybody else down in the mud. And I know that Broncos brass themselves listen to this, so maybe that isn't going to be as well received as it should be, but still,
it's the truth, man.
I mean, it's so tiresome at this point. Move on, sell the team. I know that that's the path they're heading down, and with the super nasty bug that's going around right now, the nasty little bug, nasty little sick bug that's going around, that pushes everything back. But still, it's heading down that path. Just admit it and let's get on with it because it's dragging everyone down. And the longer it lasts, the worse it gets. So just God bless. Let's just call it already. I mean, maybe the longer it goes, the worse it is also for Bowlen's legacy. I mean, maybe I know the last 5 years have been horrible, but let's not drag it out. It's been, I don't know. I'm just so ready for that team to move on. It's better for the team as well. I mean, obviously there's a chance that you get a Dan Snyder type of owner where they have money, but they're also extremely meddling and not in a good way. You don't want that, but to have one that empowers people, that has the financial means to empower people, can put money in escrow to get those guys. I mean, it's all stuff that the Broncos just can't do right now. And also, I wanted to bring this back. People talking about, we need to fire Fangio. There's a real chance now that the Broncos have played Bowles that if you fire Fangio, that could be the make or break difference of retaining Justin Simmons because you have to have that cash on hand and you're already going to have to pay a new coach then. So if the choice is hanging on to Fangio another year or being able to sign Justin Simmons, I think that's something you need to think about as well. Because I know the salary cap, there's no salary cap for coaches, but it's all coming out of the same pool. There's still a pocket there that it's coming out of. So if you are getting on from Fangio, you're limiting yourself in the offseason of what you can do financially. So, and that's okay, Chloe. I don't know what you disagree with. I say a lot.
Get in there, Chloe.
But I'm okay
get in there. Get in there. Tell us what Nick's wrong about. I'd love to hear that. So get in there. But no, Nick, and I was scrolling through my phone because like you said, man, it's embarrassing. This is tough. And Adam Schefter talked about this, man. And I was going through my Twitter line and he was asked about it and asked about it a day after Beth Bowlen-Wallace made her statement. And then Annabelle Bowlen made her statement. He said, quote, "I think Pat would be appalled to see this going on." He also added, "I find it distasteful and it's embarrassing to have this come out in public." Adam Schefter had and continues to have a very close relationship with the Bowlens. There's no one more plugged in the Denver Broncos than Adam Schefter or in the NFL, in my opinion. Adam Schefter, man, he's I've got to meet him a couple times too. He's a heck of a guy, right? One of those fan gaga moments. But man, when you got Adam Schefter coming out there, he's laying it all on the line, man. And I was talking to my wife about it, and one of the craziest things I got to cover and one of the proudest things was Mr. Bowlen's memorial. And it was incredible to see, for the Bowlen family and their bickering, it was incredible to see them all embrace Broncos country and to see them stand there for 17 hours or so to embrace everyone who came to say, and pay their respects to Mr. Bowlen. That means so much. But Nick, I asked my wife today, did that reputation pass away with Mr. Bowlen? That's a hard question, and it makes me sad to say it, Nick, because you've got John there. You've got Joe Ellis there. You've got guys in the build. You've got Vaughn and Brandon they're Super Bowl champs. You've got Vic Fangio, the godfather of defense, right? You've got these guys in the league that should have an idea of what the Broncos were. But then you've got the young players like Drew coming in, and Phil knows what this team was. He grew up in Broncos country, but none of these other guys do. What's the identity? We just don't know, Nick, and it hurts me to say that, man. It really does, because this franchise is in the dumps, brother. It's just absolutely in the dumps, and it pains me to say that.
Yeah, and I don't want to be this guy, and I've been afraid to say it, I guess, too loudly because I know that a lot of the hardcore fans would not like it. But this Broncos team, until this team is sold, I don't think it's going to get much better for the next couple of years. I know they have a really exciting young offense, but you're in a division where you are looking well up, and maybe it's a little bit of turnabout is fair play for the Broncos, given all the years that they had John Elway. Then you had that sunset moment with Peyton Manning. Obviously, that was that run was incredible. I mean, just to think about how long that was, you're really blessed to be in that situation. But now the Broncos are in a situation where they're not that team. They have the best quarterback in football in their division. He's going to be in the division for the next 15 years. Yikes, that hurts. You also now have statistically the best rookie quarterback season of all time in the division in Justin Herbert, on top of the Broncos ownership situation that's looks like it's not close to being over, or the situation not close to being resolved. So it's going to be very annoying. And here we go. We got Chloe coming in. I'm going to try the last name right now.
Do it.
Holoshenko.
Ooh.
Holoshenko. I mean, maybe that's close. That sounds like a hockey name there, but too funny. I don't agree with passing judgment on the Bolin sisters because they know a different person than we did. We don't know what the family wanted in the shadows. And I'm just ready for it to there are brothers.
There are brothers in there too. Just
John Bolin,
Johnny and Patrick.
Not good.
Johnny. Yeah, no, I know. I've had good interactions with Johnny. I've had other interactions with Johnny as well. So I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, no, it's crazy, man. And Nick's not passing judgment, man. Nick's explaining where we're all at, man. Saying, man, I wish we could figure this. I can't figure this out, but they should be able to figure it out with the trust, right? And if they don't, the NFL is going to figure it out, giving them a $10 million fine, Nick. If the Broncos don't figure this out, they're going to be we're talking about being cash strapped. You're about to get fined because you don't have a controlling owner, brother. And that's just straight up embarrassing. I got to get back to football. We got 10 minutes left to go here.
We got to talk a little bit NFC quarterback.
Well, NFC. Oh, the NFC. Thank you so much. All right, Nick. Now, I've been dying to ask you because I haven't told anyone my opinion on this yet. Matt Stafford is a name that's coming up. Nick, as you know, just like the rest of Broncos country, the Denver Broncos have never drafted a franchise quarterback.
I mean, they did draft Jay Cutler, who had some good years in
They traded him to Chicago
Bears. Yeah. So they did draft a potential franchise quarterback.
Just someone else.
He apparently put in no work. I don't know if you saw the interview with Devin Hester.
Yeah, right. Someone else's franchise quarterback, maybe. But, of course, John Elway with the Baltimore Colts, Peyton Manning. You got Jake Plummer with the Arizona Cardinals. The list goes on and on and on. So, naturally, the theory comes up, well, if you can't draft one, go get one. And I hesitate just a little, Nick, because we've been doing that. We've been getting Case Keenum. We've been getting Joe Flacco. We've been getting these Mark Sanchez. Trevor Siemian was a young guy, but he's one of those guys, right? He's just he'd be a retread in a couple of years if he's still floating around anyway. So you see these same kind of quarterbacks come and go, and Matt Stafford's a name that's coming up. He's young. He's beat up. Detroit may be looking to move on from him. Where do you land on the one? Should the Broncos consider trading for Matt Stafford? Or if the Lions cut Matt Stafford to save on that dead cap, which I think is huge, should the Broncos pursue him in free agency?
So I also saw Cody Porter coming in. Coastal Carolina beat BYU. So hats off to Coastal Carolina, man. Pretty good team this year. They're still undefeated.
Upset of the week.
Good game. I think Virginia Tech is hanging with Clemson right now too. So we'll see what happens there. But interesting game there. Yeah, Matt Stafford, I know that the Broncos have been connected to him a fair amount. Him and Darnold seem to be the main two quarterbacks right now that are looking to be available. If the Broncos did trade for Stafford this offseason, obviously depends the pre-June 1st versus post-June 1st. Let's assume it'd be a pre-June 1st. The Lions would be stuck with a $24.85 million dead cap hit. They would save $10 million that season, but then they'd be off the hook for the next few years. So they'd have to really step back. The Lions do have a rich owner at least, so it will be interesting to see what happens. Stafford would obviously become the Broncos quarterback. And I think again, it comes back to this division situation. I had a tweet about it today. In a normal division where let's say it was the Broncos were in the NFC East, and that division is very much up for grabs. The Broncos add Matt Stafford to this team. You're talking about a division contender every single year. They should be able to win that division. Ooh. But in the AFC West, with Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert as well, unfortunately, I don't see this Broncos team as a Matt Stafford away from winning the division.
Right.
And I'm not making a trade for a quarterback just to contend for a playoff spot. I know that's horrible, and I know the Broncos probably aren't thinking that way too, because they are guys who are looking to save their jobs right now, and bringing Matt Stafford in might get you in the playoffs and might save your job. But that's not how I'm thinking. I'm thinking win the division, win the conference, win the Super Bowl. Making the playoffs, that's not enough for me. I'd rather them honestly picking top 5 and have a chance at a franchise quarterback than just be 9-7 and make the playoffs and get blown the hell out. So that's not for me.
Yeah.
So I would be interested in Stafford. It really comes down to what the cost is.
Yep.
He's going to cost you a lot against the cap. And if it costs, let's say the Broncos probably picking top 10 this year. I think they're 11 right now, given the tough games they have down the stretch, probably going to pick top 10. Am I giving up a top 10 pick for Matt Stafford?
No.
He's a good quarterback. You still have 5 years left. No, I'm not.
No.
I'm not.
Never, ever,
He's
not
good
even
enough.
if there's a
Yeah.
fire. Ever. Nick, no.
Yeah.
Dude, no, dude. I'm with you, man.
It's a job-saving move, man. It's a short-term job-saving move, and I could see it. I think that's how they're thinking. That's how they
trend. Right. It's not how you and I would roll, but Terry Randall, he rolls with us every Saturday night. MHI, hashtag Nick's Beer Fun. Use the Force Luke, hashtag State of Being. Dude, I've been all up in the Mandalorian for all you Star Wars nerds, man. I've been so Mandalorian crazy. This is the way. And I'm hoping Drew Lock can figure out his way, man, because, Matt Stafford, dude, no. And everybody, Vic Fangio knows Matt Stafford, right? From Chicago Bears. And dude, I'm seeing the comments right now. He's banged up. He's always banged up, Nick. If you trade for him, you got to eat that money. Broncos ain't willing to do that. Hell, we don't even know if the Broncos are willing to pay Justin Simmons right now. Okay, so let's just slow down on all that. Now, George coming up in here. George, I love you so much, man. You're always supporting me and all my work very personally and everybody else's. So from me to you, happy holidays. And I know Nick expresses the same in Bawana as well. What about bringing in Alex Smith for competition? That's an interesting thing because Alex Smith, man, it's a feel-good story. He's not going to threaten Drew. I think he would be your backup, but I like Brett Rippon as the backup. I don't have a problem with Brett Rippon as the backup, Nick. So I don't know. It's what would I do? It doesn't matter what I would do. I think, unfortunately, you're right. The Broncos want to go after another quarterback. I don't know what's going to happen with Matt Ryan. He's being linked to maybe San Francisco. So does that mean Denver's possibly interested in another banged up quarterback like Jimmy Garoppolo? I don't want to hear about that either. So you can't just delay the inevitable with Drew Lock. And guess what, guys? Drew's going to be here next year too. We don't know if he's going to be the starter, but he's still going to be here. The retread quarterbacks, I think it's going to happen, man. I don't know if it's going to be Stafford, but it's going to be somebody, and I don't think I'm going to be super pumped.
I'm here for Ryan Fitzpatrick. If he comes with that mountain band beard, and him and Jake Plummer might have they should have their own talk show. I'd be way into
dude,
that.
Me too, dude. And look at what Fitz does for his teammates in the quarterback room. Can you imagine Fitz and Brett Rippon with Drew Lock? I mean, that should be the ultimate room for Drew Lock. And if he couldn't succeed in that room, then he probably couldn't succeed anywhere. David coming in here, David Schlossler Jr. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Thank you so much. Can only think of Fitz as a good backup / teacher for Lock, not as a starter. Completely agreed. And speaking of that, dude, do we know who's starting in that game tomorrow for the Dolphins? Is it going to be Fitz or is it Tua?
I don't know. I'm not sure, but it will be interesting. That'll probably be, I would guess it'd be Tua, but
really?
I would guess it'd be Tua. I would go Tua. I mean, but I'm always I'd rather see what I have in the young guys than whatever. Oh, we got Flacco Retribution Tour. Get out of here.
No, Sean, how dare you, Sean? You got us.
Here are some quarterback names that I think might be interesting. Obviously, Ryan Fitzpatrick is one that's interesting. The starting 2 tier would be Darnold and Stafford. I think if you bring those guys in, they're probably starting over Lock. You might have some competition, but they're starting over Lock. Then you have a tier of guys who are the veterans that might displace Lock. And these are all going to be, I know the comment section is going to be like, no, not them. But guys, good quarterbacks aren't just available. I'm sorry. They're just not.
And it's not what Nick would do or what I would do. We're looking at what the Broncos would do. Hit me with it, Nick.
And
what
who's even available?
Dude?
So obviously there's Ryan Fitzpatrick as a name.
Okay.
That could be happening. Alex Smith is another name that could be happening.
Okay.
One that I don't like, but I mean, it kind of fits for a very safe net. A guy that can push Lock. And if Lock flames out again, you go that way is Tyrod Taylor. I'm not in, but it just seems like that kind of we're swinging to get on base rather than hit the home run. And that's that type of move that I'm not about it. It makes me preemptively eye roll thinking about it, but those are the kind of guys that just kind of fit that role. And it's also not being all the way out on Drew Lock. I think if you bring in Darnold or Stafford, you're probably saying, Drew, we'll probably keep you on the roster, good backup, maybe something will happen, you got tools. But I think if you bring in those guys, it's a different thing. Where the younger guys or the older guys, you'll probably have some competition. So it'll be a little different there. But as far as Stafford goes, I would be interested. Let's say you're giving up a second-round pick this year and a second-round pick in 2022. I know that's a lot. I don't like quarterbacks that are pocket-dependent because I think the game is going totally away from that. That's why I absolutely just am 120% on out on guys like Kyle Trask, completely pocket-dependent. Heck no, I'm not in. But for somebody like Stafford, with the Broncos, they're kind of like the anti-Texans right now. They have a good roster. Quarterback position's not playing well. Texans have an amazing quarterback. The roster around him is horrible. Outside of Will Fuller, that's just trash. And Larry Tunsil. But still, I think that with Stafford, you're talking about a playoff team. I'm not giving up a first-round pick, though. No. I'm not giving up a first-round pick. If that's what it takes, then, heck it. We'll go with Locke again next year.
We're getting some pushback here. I don't know.
That's okay.
I don't know if I could get some of you guys are hilarious. Absolutely love it. Thank y'all for tuning in to MHI. We're going to start wrapping things up, but no, man, I'm with you, dude. Matt Stafford, I'm interested, I guess. Let's see. But yeah, that Tyrod Taylor, that reminds me a lot of like Jameis Winston. Kind of the same scenario, different quarterback, same
that's
scenario.
Another one
where
it's
just
tier.
Yeah, kind of a lukewarm. Cam Newton, definitely
it's
not.
Bringing in Ryan Tannehill when you have Mariota.
Yeah, right. Yes.
That's what it is.
Yeah, and people, and Tannehill's had some problems. He's struggling just a little bit right now. So we're going to have to see. But, Nick, this hour always goes so fast, dude. And here we go, Sunday Night Football tomorrow night. I think I had it 41-17, Kansas City. I've got a Tyreek Hill, man. I'm pumped. Michael Ojemudia is back in, man. I wrote an article last week saying I don't understand why he's not in, and Vic Fangio told us why. Tackling. We theorized on tackling, and he spoke about it last week. Man, I'm not going to eat the young kid's lunch. He's facing the best wide receivers between Julio Jones and Tyreek Hill and all this other stuff. So for me, man, I got to see some fight. I want to see Drew go out there, and I want to see him pick himself off the turf, shake off those bad plays, and just get after it, man. What do you got to lose? You got your starting job to lose. You've got your opportunity as a franchise quarterback to lose. So go out there, let it all hang out, man, and I can't wait to see what he can do.
Yeah, and absolutely. I think the Broncos are probably going to lose this one. I think it'll be close for a bit. I do think the Broncos defense is going to do okay. I think they're going to do an okay job corralling Patrick Mahomes, especially coming off the game last week. I just can't see back-to-back explosive weeks. They were very hyped for that Tampa Bay game. I think it'll be decently close for a bit, but then the Chiefs are going to pull away and win 31-17. And also I want to address this real quick. David's been hot in our chat today. We appreciate it, David. Even if you don't agree with us, we do appreciate it. And I'm here. I don't want to live in an echo chamber. I want to be pushed back against. I thrive in that environment. Tell me I'm wrong because I want to talk to you about it. So we have David Crespin coming here. Why are you giving up on Locke? He only has 11 starts. Correct. Give him time. I'm not giving up on Locke, but I know it's kind of a saying, oh, ye of little faith. When it comes to football, I have no faith in anybody. It's prove it. I'm a man of science. You got to show it. And right now, Locke has not been showing it. I'm an evidence-based decision-making. That's where I'm at. I do not make decisions on faith. So you can have faith on Locke if you guys want. We'll see what happens. But I think Locke's got to prove it. I've been not too high, not too low all season. I've stated that from the beginning. Not too high, not too low. We're going to get the full season of Drew Lock. We got 5 games left of Drew Lock against not some great defenses. He can do enough in these games. Honestly, I still think he can do enough in these games to be the dude going into 2021. Now he's going to have to play a couple tier steps up of what he's shown so far, which has been his best 2 games of the year have been league average quarterbacks. The Miami game and the New England game, in my opinion, are his best 2 games. Those are league average quarterback outputs. The rest of them have been below average or worse. Yep. So we got 5 games. He could really come out and show well. I'm going to let him have that. Not too high, not too low. Once the season's over, we'll be able to step back. We'll be able to say, where's he going? What's the direction to go? Because if you don't have the quarterback position set, you're not going anywhere unless you have an all-time defense, which, God, go buy a lottery ticket and go depend on that because that's about the odds of having an all-time defense. So, that's where I'm at. We'll see what happens, but I'm really hoping for Locke. He's just got to prove it. He's got to prove it.
Yeah, and as we wrap up, I'm not giving up on him either. I'm saying this is a big one for me. I told you, Nick, this is kind of it for me in terms of the signature. This is the last big test, and I'm not expecting the Broncos to win. And I'm not planning on Drew Lock winning the game for them, but I need to see improvements. I need to show no turnovers. For the love of God, don't throw a pick. I mean, so let's get to Kenneth Booker real quick, man. Can we use Simmons money to offer Dak $40 million? Do you want to go after? Do you want to?
I would pay Dak if I could.
Get Dak? Would you? Ooh.
I think Dak's a top 7 quarterback. He's entering his second contract, and I think he's actually a quarterback who can go toe to toe with Mahomes. If you have a good enough team around him, he's not better than Mahomes. But you don't have to be better than Mahomes. He's good.
Bold take.
He's a good quarterback.
Patrick Mahomes, and Justin Herbert, and Derek Carr in a division, man. That would be interesting. I'd wonder what that'd look like.
Good luck. I mean, the Broncos don't have the cash to sign Dak, so turn the Xbox off, folks. It's not happening. I think Dak is one of the better up and coming quarterbacks right now. I mean, people we're talking, the Cowboys suck, they can't win games. He was putting up 400 yards a game this season, and the defense for the Cowboys was horrible. And also that offensive line has started to fall apart. Tyron Smith out, Zach Martin injured, Travis Frederick retired. So Dak's a good quarterback. He's going to get paid. He's going to deserve what he gets paid. That's where I think he's really good.
I don't want Dak because Dak can't even make the freaking plane to get here to Denver before he's drafted, Nick. And I'm still going to be just a grouchy old man about. No, it's just a funny little trivia fact. I don't think I'll ever forget. But winning quarterbacks, John will go get a winning quarterback if he wants to. And then we got Terry Mantle coming up in here. He's always supporting us. Hit that like button, Broncos Country, and be sure to subscribe. Nick, what do you got for the rest of the fellas and young ladies as we clean up the rest of our podcast?
Appreciate you guys. Hit that like button. Kenneth Booker coming in one more time. You can get to Dak if you don't pay Simmons and Vaughn. I'm not sure they can because all that guaranteed money up front has to go into furlough. Vaughn has already been paid. That guaranteed cash has already been paid up front, and you definitely couldn't pay Simmons without Dak, but I just don't think it could happen. So that's going to end it today for Mile High Insiders, guys. We appreciate it. We really appreciate you. You know what? You guys in the chats, if you guys have any ugly Christmas sweaters too, I think now's the time. Hashtag Nick's ugly Christmas sweaters. I'm in. Let's see the pictures. Let's do it. This Broncos season's getting off the rails. Let's get these podcasts off the rails too. Who even cares? Right? Let's have some fun. Let's see those ugly Christmas sweaters. Honestly, we need some ugly Mile High Huddle Insider or some Mile High Huddle ugly Christmas sweaters. I would be so in. We appreciate you guys. That. Find us on Twitter at Luke Patterson LP and myself at Nick Kendell MHH. Also go to Mile High Huddle where all of our written content and MHH community content lies. Pretty soon we're going to be full steam ahead on draft season, off season, which is where I honestly feel like I do my best work. I know that there's a lot of people who do a lot of draft stuff at Mile High Huddle, so really do appreciate that. You can come here. You can ask us questions on Twitter too. We're all about that life. Head on over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star rating and a comment. For those of you on YouTube, like, subscribe, and share. That can help the Mile High Insiders. That can help building the Broncos. Can help the Huddle Up podcast. Can help the Dove Valley Deep Divers. All of us are here 7 days a week. I know a lot of other podcasts have 5 days a week, 4 days a week, 3 days a week. We're here 7 days a week for you guys. So we really do appreciate that on Facebook. Click those thumbs up. Like or share on Facebook as well. That helps us a lot. And that can help us continue to bring you these Denver Bronco Deep Dives. Again, on Twitter, follow us at Mile High Huddle and at MHI_football pod. Luke, you got any plans the rest of the night? I know you said you were doing some Christmas stuff today.
Yeah, man, my girls got me on the roof doing Christmas lights and all that stuff today. I'm going to go do some gingerbread houses, all that fun stuff, man. I'm just going to enjoy some time with my girls, my family. I hope everyone else can do the same. Watch football tomorrow. Watch as much as you can. I hope everybody stays safe, and I am very humbled and grateful for you, Nick and Carl, in my absence. I hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving last week as well. So thank y'all so much. And what another kick butt show, dude. We just kill it, man. You guys kill it, and I'm pumped, man. Let's go Broncos.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. I'm going to go set up and decorate the Christmas tree. So getting a little festive. I'll probably keep the sweater on. I'm keeping it down here right now because I got to keep it every game, but I'll keep it on today. Yeah. Appreciate you guys. Please stay safe. Take care of each other. Take care of your friends and family. Make smart decisions. And reiterate, stay safe. God bless y'all. Go Broncos.
Go Broncos.
Join Broncos Country's deep divers at milehighhuddle.com to keep the conversation going.